Daf Pei Dalet Amud Beis will begin Pei Dalet Amud Aleph, 9 lines from the bottom. Continue on with the discussion, the Machlekes Rav and Shmuel, if it's Lezeb, B'Shilshel, Lezeb, B'Zrika. For two of the residents, it's difficult the use is difficult. For neither one of them is it easy. For neither one of them is considered a Pesach. Do we say that since it's difficult for both, there is no one area that it's allocated to more than the other, and they have both equal use of it, and therefore they're both asurim? That's what Rav says. Shmuel says that no, zrika is more difficult. Throwing it up, and to use it by throwing it up is more difficult than lowering it down, and therefore, even though it's difficult for both, it's more difficult for the one that's b'zrika, and therefore we allocate it to the one that it's with lowering it b'shilshul, and it's for them it's mutter, and for the other ones that it's also. So let's bring a raya from the following. Tashma anshe chaser v'anshe aliyah. If you have residents of a chaser and residents of a second story, an aliyah, sheshachachu v'lo eruv, they did not make an eruv with each other. They each made their own eruv, but they were not ma'arav together. So you cannot carry from the aliyah to the chaser to aliyah. Anshe chaser mishtamshim basra tachtain. The anshe chaser can use the lower 10. We'll see what that means in a minute. Anshe aliyah mishtamshim basra el yain. And the Anshe Aliyah can use the upper 10. The upper 10 tefachim. Ketzad. What is the case over here? Ziz hayetzim min hakaisel. If you have a ledge that protrudes from a wall, lemata me'asor lachatzer. If it's below 10, it's within 10 of the ground, then the use of it belongs to the Anshe Chatzer, the people below. Lemala me'asor la'aliyah. But if it is more than 10 from the ground, and we're assuming, and it is within 10 of the aliyah, then it belongs to the aliyah, to the Anshe Aliyah. So if we have the scenario as follows. If you have a wall here, here's the chatzah, you have a ledge. Now let's assume that this wall is more than 20 tefachim high. So if you have the ledge, it's here, and if this is within 10 of the ground, for the people below, the use is easy. It's within 10, so it's considered a Pesach. For the people on top, of the Bnei Aliyah, the people that live here, is far away. It's more than 10. So therefore, it's considered for them to be not a Pesach, and it's not ease of use, so it's allocated, the use of it belongs to the people below. But if the ledge is further up, so that for the people below it's more than 10 tefachim, but for the people above it's within 10 tefachim, they can lower it, it's within 10 tefachim, so for the people above the use is considered easy, it's a Pesach. For the people below it's B'zrika. So then it belongs to the people above. So that's the basic principle that we've established before, that Lezeb Pesach, Lezeb Zrika applies to the one that which is a Pesach. But now we're making a diuk. That's a section of the wall that if it's the ledge if it's below in the lower section, or it's in the higher section. But what about the area between the two? Well, if the ledge is here, then we say that it belongs to the people on top. If the ledge is below, close to the bottom, then it will belong to the people on the chatzar. But what about the area in between? Our assumption is that the wall is more than 20, so there's a section between the two, whether if the ledge is higher, it belongs to the people on top, below the people below. But if the ledge is somewhere between this, in this area here, meaning so that the ledge is not within 10 of either of them, so that would mean that it's Lezeb Shilshol or Lezeb Zrika. The people on the bottom, if they want to use it, the people on the bottom, they would have to throw it and lower it down. Now again, we're talking about where the ledge is more than dalet al dalet. It's not a malkam patur. So the people over here, for them to be able to use the ledge, if it's above 10, they have to throw it up. The people on top over here, it's more than 10 down, they would have to lower it down. So is that not the case? And what would it be medayik over here? How the beini also? If it's in that middle section, it would be also to both of them. It's not a Pesach for either one. We can't say it's attributable to the lower ones nor to the higher ones, and it would be also. So isn't that a raya like Rav and a Kashan Shmuel? Mordor says no. You can't bring a raya from here because I'm a Rav Nachman. We're talking where there is no middle section. The whole height of the wall is 19. So if the whole height of the wall is 19, either the ledge is within 10 of the area below, or it's within 10 of the area above. So we're talking about if it's within 10, it's for the people on the bottom, it's a Pesach. And for the people on top, it's not a Pesach. They have to lower it down. And if it's so there is no middle section. We're talking in a case where the whole height of the wall is less than 20. If it's in the lower part, then it's within 10 of the bottom. And it's more than 10 on the top. If it's further up, it's within 10 of the top and more than 10 on the bottom. So the case is talking about either it's lezrika or lezeh anzel pasach lezeh lezrika, or it's talking about lezeh pasach or lezeh b'shilshul. But it's not referring to a case where you have lezeh pasach or lezeh lezrika rather lezeh b'shilshul. There's no middle section over here, so you don't have this scenario where it's lezeh l'shilshul lezeh l'zrika, so it's not relevant to the machlekes of Rav and Shmuel. Tashma, let's bring a raya from the following. Shteg zutoras zulam al mizu. If you have two balconies, one above the other, and they're over the water. So assume that this is a two-story building. There's the water over here. Now the water has a din of a carmelis, and you can't draw water from the carmelis to the Rishus HaYochid. That would be awesome. Now there's two balconies. The balconies are not right above each other. They're pulled laterally aside. They're both over the water. There's a lower one and there's an upper one. Now, the way that one is allowed to draw the water from the lake, from the body of water to the balcony to the Rishus HaYochid is by way of mechitzas. There's a special hat that the Chum made. So one of the balconies, it had a hole in it. You lower the pail through the hole down to the water below. Now, this hole over here, we have to extend walls below the hole on each side. So you have 4 mechitzas, and even though the mechitzas do not come all the way to the water, even though it's mechitza tluya, which normally we say a suspended wall is not considered a mechitza, does not have a halacha mechitza. This is a special kula kal she'ekila b'mayim, that they allowed it, that even though the mechitza does not come down to the ground, but we apply the principle of good aches, and we say that we view it as extending down to the water, and it's as if the mechitzas come all the way down to the water. So you're bringing up the water, you're lowering the pail through the hole in the ledge. And now since you have mechitzas on each side, it extends down. You're drawing it from Rishus HaYochid to Rishus HaYochid, not from a carmelis. So if you have this scenario, let's say these partitions were made, the top one, the one on the top made the partitions, but the one on the bottom, the one on the lower level, did not. So how then is it going to be used? Now we must be talking in a case over here where the two of them join together in the cost of the partitions, and the lower one has a right to use the upper one. So they both have a right of way. They both have the right to use the Dirshu Regel. So now if you have the scenario where the top one made the partitions, they have the circle, the hole rather, and they made the partition, not the bottom one. So the top one uses it through shilshul, lowers it down, the pail is lowered down into the water. The bottom one throws the bucket to the top one and lowers it down. So therefore, you have a scenario l'chayra where you have the top one is a shilshul, the lower one is bezrika, and nevertheless we say also la yon also tachnan shtem asuras arva. They're both also until they make an erev together. So don't you see a raya to Rav, not like Shmuel? Don't we see that the zev is zrika, the zev is shilva, shtem asuras, even though it's difficult for both, it's still asuras. Now, as a Taisa Rabbeinu Peretz points out, it doesn't matter how low this ledge is from the top balcony, but in any event it's considered shilshul because it has to be lowered down to the bottom, to the water level, which is 10 tvachim. It's more than 10 tvachim in any event below it. So don't we have a raya? I'll call upon him to Rav over here. No, but no, we're not talking where they throw the bucket. There's a ladder, they go upstairs, and they have the right to use it to lower the bucket. So they're using it in the exact same way. There's no difference between the rights that the lower one and the upper one have. Abaye Omar gives a different teretz, where these two ledges, these two balconies are within 10 of each other. They're very close together. So since they're within 10 of each other, they're not considered to be separate reshuyas. So you can't be machalik it and be machalik and say it belongs to this one or belongs to that one. Since they're within 10 tvachim of each other, they're considered to be one domain, and you can't allocate between the two. And the way we say over here is the Mishnah's, the example is loy mi boya. Not only if they made it for the lower one and they didn't make it for the top one, that it's also the cave and the begayud hadari kaimin asra hadari. Certainly in that case they would answer each other because they're within 10 of each other. They're considered one domain. You can't allocate to one or the other. And certainly let me point out that in that case where the bottom one use is easy and the top one's use is also b'shil, so they're both b'shil, so they certainly would be also, because since they're within 10 of each other, it's one domain. But ela filo, but the Mishnah's case was when the top one made it and not the bottom one. That chooses that case to teach you ela filo even in a case where the partitions are made for the top and not the bottom. I might have thought that since the upper one has it easier, the use is easy, it just has to lower it down. But the bottom one is difficult, it has to throw it up and lower it down. I might have thought in that case, even though they're within 10 of each other, I should allocate it to the top and not the bottom, and they would be much on the bottom of the also, and therefore give it to the upper one. So that's why it teaches you that no, that nevertheless, since they're within 10 of each other, it doesn't matter that the top one has a use is easier and the bottom one is more difficult. Since they're within 10 of each other, it's considered one domain, and you cannot allocate to one over the other. If you have a gag roof that's samach l'Reshus Harabim, the Reshus Harabim passes by and they have the use of the rooftop. The way the Ritva explains the case is that they have permission to use the rooftop. They have permission to use it, and therefore the question is, where do we say that they would aser somebody else from using it? So in the case we're talking over here where there is a balcony, there is a gallery here protruding here, Now, the people from the gallery have access to the rooftop. The people from the Rishus Harabim have access to the rooftop. The case is talking about this gallery is within 10 of the Rishus Harabim. It's within 10 of the top of the roof. Now, the ones that have the ease of access would be the ones of the gallery because it's within 10 of the roof. The people on the bottom of the Rishus Harabim, it's more difficult, it's more than 10, so it would assume to be that this is a more difficult use, a use that's bezrika. Now the question is, do we say that the people in the Rishus Harabim, their use of the rooftop should answer the people from the gallery, or not? Or do we say that, well, since they are within 10 of the rooftop, they are a Pesach, we should allocate it to them? Now, the case we say over here is that we say in such a case, Tzorach Sulam Kavu L'Hatira. You need a permanent ladder between the rooftop and the balcony to say that we allocate it to them and not to the Bnei Rishus Harabim. It has to be a permanent ladder. Sulam Kavu in Sulam Railoi. So it must be a permanent ladder that we say we allocate it to those people, the people on the gallery. Now, why should that be? Why should that be? Why should we, in any way, allocate it to the Bnei Rishus Harabim? The rooftop is more than 10. Now, for them, it's within 10. So why don't we say that for them it's a Pesach and for them it's Bezrika? And for one for Pesach and another Zrika, we allocate to the Pesach, and yet you need a permanent ladder. Now, as a side point, and the Ritva addresses the point that where do we ever say that a Rishus Harabim asers the use? We don't say that Rishus Harabim asers the use of people in a chaser. We don't say it asers the people the use in a mavoi. Why should, in any event, even if they have the right to use the rooftop, but why should their use aser the people on the balcony, or the people on the gallery from using it? So the Ritva explains is that the use that's used in a chotzer, that's used in a mavi, is more of a permanent use, is more significant use, and there we say that their use would be attributed to the Bnei Chotzer, Bnei Mavi. We won't attribute to the Bnei Rishus Harabim, but a rooftop in this scenario, in this case, is not so significant. So theoretically, we would say that the Bnei Rishus Harabim would aser. So in any event, we say over here that the Bnei Rishus Harabim would aser for the people over here on the gallery, unless they have a permanent ladder, which shows that we designate the use of it to them and not to them. But why should that be? Why should that be? Isn't this the case? Why shouldn't we allocate it to the people on the gallery in any event, even without a ladder? So doesn't that show you this principle that no, because since they are within 10 of each other, since this is within 10 of the Rishus Harabim, we would view it all as one domain. We wouldn't separate the domains. Doesn't that illustrate this principle that we view it all as one? Papi says, no, no, maybe you have no raya. Maybe it's not considered Zeb Pesach Zeb Zrika. Maybe what we're talking about, the use that the Rishus Harabim have, is that they put their hats over there. They just put light objects, like they put their hats over there, or they put over there scarves over there. So they put these types of things over there that the use of it is considered to be also of ease of use. Now, even though we say normally if something is 10 tvachim or more away, it's not considered a Pesach. It's considered something that's difficult to use. But that's in the normal use where you have more significant objects, heavier objects. So we say something, if the use is only 10 or more higher, then it's not considered a Pesach. But if the use that the Rabbim has is that they're walking along, if they're hot to something, they want to put a scarf or a hat on top, even if it's higher than 10 tvachim, they can use it with ease. So perhaps in this case, it's not considered Zeb Pesach or Zeb Zrika, it's considered Zeb Pesach or Zeb Pesach, because even if it's Bnei Rishus Harabim, even though it's more than 10 high, but to put a hat over here temporarily, they can use it easily. So therefore, without the ladder, I would not have a way of allocating. Maybe I'll tell you that the fact that they're within 10 tvachim of each other does not consider that render them to be one domain. Maybe we could allocate between the two. Why do you need a ladder between the gallery and the roof? Because over here it's considered l'zeh b'pesach, because they both can use it easily. And therefore, we need the ladder to allocate it to the people on top. So we have no raya from this case.